Well, to the average person, Passover, Good Friday, Easter, all these are words that describe the cornerstone of the Christian faith. Yet even a surface level street talk investigation will reveal that there is something missing, because even within Christianity itself, some teach that Easter is pagan. Is Easter pagan?
In the beginning,
what
Easter
is pagan?
Was not pagan.
Whose perspective?
It became. Now
those that
is.
celebrating Easter, all wrong. This idea that Easter is pagan reveals a landscape littered with ancient European paganism. We see the name Eostre, Anglo-Saxon Dawn Goddess, the prolific hare, a biological fertility idol, and the cosmic egg, primordial seed, presumably depicting the self-generation potential of the waters of NyuNyu. All this has been rebranded to fit a singular religious narrative today. We see moon cycles, moon cakes turned into hot cross buns, and ancient sunrise services performed during this time. What's the meaning of all this? Technically then, when you consider this level of knowledge, Easter is paganism. But from whose perspective? You didn't choose your guilt. They assigned it at birth. Sin, doubt, unworthiness. Someone handed you a life sentence before you could even speak, and they called it faith. No More Masters is the book that puts this system on trial instead of you. No theology, no doctrine, no permission required, just the raw, unfiltered truth that dismantles every lie you were told to obey and hands you back the one thing they never wanted you to have, yourself. You were never the accused. You were the jury, the judge, and the master. And this book is your key. Get your copy today from Amazon. Own a copy, because the day you stop asking for permission to exist is the day your real life begins with challenges and with the ability and capacity to meet those challenges and problems. Order No More Masters from Amazon today and own a universal comprehension text that you can hand over to any of your relatives and friends. There is a deeper level than simply calling Easter pagan.
In the beginning, Easter
Without
was
knowing
not pagan.
this level,
It
one
became,
remains trapped in the realm of
now
belief.
is.
Easter is not really pagan at all when you go to its origins. It is something much more precise, but we know now it was hijacked and it became pagan later. One must know the mechanics of the simulation, the subtle forces that govern this world. They do not care about your religion. They care about your intent. They know that during the vernal equinox, where Easter occurs and Passover occurs, the earth reaches a magnetic null point. This is a state of superposition, a field of infinite possibilities, where the waters of NyuNyu are most fluid. By tethering billions of human observers to a story of past sacrifice during this window, the system performs a temporal reset. It harvests the emotional entropy of the masses. To stabilize the current reality grid, it ensures that the human wave collapses never realize that they have the power to re-engineer or engineer their own material reality, but that they should look up to something
in the Nile
else.
Valley, a moment when biological
Now, at the level
interface with the
of Afro-Astrophysics or Afro-Science, the resurrection was never a myth, because before Jesus, Osiris rose first. African ancestors always resurrected after death, because the resurrection they're talking about is a manual for biochemical engineering. The rising refers to the cerebrospinal fluid, the sacred secretion that ascends through the 33 vertebrae of the spinal cord to activate the pineal gland. That's why your Jesus died at the age of 33. This is the jade pillar of Hamit, which we were taught by our ancestors, because the resurrection is the activation of your pineal gland and your all the system that causes you to be immortal. The tomb is not a stone in Jerusalem. It is the physical body and the calcified state of the lower senses. To roll away the stone is to break the sensory lockdown and access the fullness that the waters of NyuNyu offers. The Jesus fish is actually the Vesica Pisces the
is
mathematical geometry required
Each year,
by
buildings
anyone
observe
who
Easter as
is
the defining
intently
moment of Christian
collapsing the wave
Ritual, the
from
remembrance.
the
Easter is
waters
not
of
really
NyuNyu
pagan. It
into
is a window for
matter, into what they
activating
really
lives. The stone is rolled
require.
away, not by miracle, but by
Easter
precision. Easter
is not really pagan.
It is a window for
If you
activating
know that
collapse.
between
The
March
stone is rolled
21st
away, not by
and
miracle,
March
but by
25th
precision.
is the annual ingathering. Those in Mahatic alignment did not celebrate a pagan holiday. They synchronized with the galactic clock by honoring Ancestors' Day, March 25th. In preparation of the peak of the Equinox window, they performed a genetic recall, a bloodline reactivation, a totemic activation, and they used the Earth's magnetic opening to pull their energy, scattered energy, back from the systems in an ingathering process into self. And they sent a signal through their DNA to the righteous ancestors and to the gods and beyond, because at this time, as we have already indicated, the waters of
Each year,
NyuNyu
the
are much
equinox
more
returns.
stable.
Balance is
The
restored.
finality of freedom of this is that if you think that Easter is pagan, you are still a subjected victim, not using applied metaphysics. You have forgotten that you are master of the present moment. Easter is not really pagan. If you know the events in the cosmos, if you know what we have already illustrated, if you know your ancient African belief systems, death and the afterlife, if you know the total freedom that the tomb means the inactive state of your body, where your soul dwells, where it needs the resurrection, in other words, a reactivation and a renewal, by turning away the stone that is the obstruction that comes in your mind, specifically targeting your pineal gland. Then you need precision, which is a continuous period of discipline before transitioning from this life. If we agree, and I say, in all honesty, Easter is not original paganism we have demonstrated now, we need to know and realize that this is obvious, because all the celebrations of Easter today are not even in the Bible. The pattern is there beneath this symbol, these symbols. So it is clear that we are dealing with a vanished sublime knowledge. How did it vanish? Let us repeat. What
March
sublime
25th
knowledge
to
vanished
25th
here?
during the annual
Because
ingathering,
this
those
is
in
the
the
sublime
Afro
knowledge that
alignment
in
did
the
not
Nile Valley
celebrate clock.
and in many proto-Afro-indigenous societies all over the
Records show a
earth,
blending of
they
systems,
knew
but is it
that the
truly
vernal
pagan?
equinox was not just
No more
a day
masters.
or just a
Available
period,
now on
that
Amazon.
it was a
You are
moment
truly
of hard-coded
warrior copy
maintenance
today.
window in the Earth's orbital mechanisms. The priest teachers, priest scientists, teachers, and others knew that March 25 was a high day and is the moment when the planet's magnetic field reached a very narrow point, a brief superposition where biological antennas, pineal gland could recalibrate and human intention could directly interface with the uncreated source, and you can connect with your ancestors easily. So they went through a number of phases to change this sublime knowledge, the original Hamitic knowledge, original African knowledge. So when our ancestors moved into Europe, they encountered literary illiterate tribes whose societies
masters
had
of
no
the governed
mathematical
world do
vocabulary
not care
for
about
magnetic
your
pull-now points and the
They know
endocrine
where this
activation.
root was.
The
Each
technical
year, Pagans
manual
observe Easter as the
they
defining
used
moment
there
of
was
Christian
folklore.
faith.
The Anglo-Saxons were told that the
From March
same equinox
21st
you
to
have
25th,
Eostre, a
during the annual
god
ingathering,
goddess.
those in Maadic
That
alignment
it
did not
comes from the
celebrate
east,
clock.
that the cosmic egg then became literally chicken egg. They misunderstood all these, thinking that all has to do with fertility wishes. The hare became a mascot for spring breeding rather than a biological clock. The Hot Cross Buns, instead of mimicking the waters of NyuNyu's wave, they put a cross there. And that was the first dilution when our technology became mythology in Europe, and it was then deposited into one god, a goddess. Now, then came the other phase, the Christian phase, the annexation 325 Common Era to 800 Common Era, whereby the Roman
Easter is the
and the Greco-Roman
cornerstone
Empire
of
faced
Christian
a
faith.
problem. Millions of
Finished.
people were still conducting their annual ingathering as taught by their ancient African teachers that came to Europe, and they were bypassing imperial control. The solution was very simple. They said they had to replace it. So at the Council of Nicaea, they created Jesus. And then they created the calculation of date of Easter. So the date of Easter isn't random. It's a calculated system using a formula based on the full first moon after the European spring equinox. It has nothing to do with us here on the southern part. So that was the first Sunday after the full moon following the equinox, ensured that the date drifted more and more away from the now point of March 20 to 25. So the mechanism of capture meant that they kept the window open but changed the code. The tomb became a stone sepulchre instead of the calcified pineal gland. The 3 days became literally Fridays to Sunday instead of the 72-hour solar stillness at the equinox. The ascension became a ghost story instead of cerebrospinal fluid rising through 33 vertebrae. Mostly critically, they shifted the locus of power from you, internal or intent, to external. You wait for salvation from a distant past event, whether it's a lamb or whether it's a man crucified on a cross, died for your sins. Billions of people today are historically attached to this, the substitute of the original. And the Easter is not indeed pagan, if you know this. Now, last phase now is the Victorian commercialization process that occurred prior to colonization and the enslavement of melanin-dominant human beings, which occurred just during the time of the Industrial Revolution, where our astronomy became their theology. And the Easter Bunny tradition seems to have originated in Germany, exported into Europe, exported all over into America. And it became the oyster hares to America in the 1700s. In the 19th century, confectioners weaponized everything. The Cadbury Company in the United Kingdom in 1875 industrialized the chocolate egg, transforming the Vesica Pisces into a foil-wrapped sugar bomb. The greeting card industry invented the Easter Bunny as a cuddly mascot, erasing its origins as a lunar cycle biological marker. The simulation was complete. The population now celebrated a holiday about a rabbit laying chocolate eggs to commemorate a resurrection that nobody ever was crucified. Jesus never existed, was never crucified. It never happened at all. Then they changed the ankh to the cross and all associated symbols. Now, instead of activating your biology and instead of knowing that during this window your biology is screaming for activation, you are consuming sugar and you are emotionally attached to something that never existed, like crucified on Golgotha. The very pineal gland, the original technology which was designed to open it, is now being closed by this chocolate and these emotional feelings. In conclusion, therefore, each year the window still opens during the equinox. It returns annually. Balance is restored, or the potential for restoration of balance occurs. The Afro-resurrection, separation of electromagnetic attraction from the soul, is potentially occurring at that time. You should practice this and understand that. So, some observe it as tradition, others debate whether it's pagan or not. If you recognize it as timing, not as mystical, some think it's a wrong Catholic tradition, not knowing that the Jesus that they are standing for, like this Apostle Chiwenga, who thought he knows very much, repeating what ChatGPT teaches him and copies what Armstrong taught, he thinks he knows it, but he is worshipping a Jesus that was crafted by the Roman Catholics, reading the Bible he was given by the Catholics. Same window that existed thousands of years ago still appears today unchanged. The only difference
the stone is rolled
is
away,
who
not by
recognizes
miracle,
it.
but by precision.
The technology is still running, but millions have forgotten how to operate it. If you want to learn more, read the book No More Masters. You can get your copy from Amazon. You can own a copy, or you can get in touch with us via our email and our tips. All truth in plain sight. We will share with you a lot of information. I'm your manager to people Rabbi LM Dumzil Kuniganim Jakanja, saying till we meet again, remember, Easter is pagan for the ignorant, and also not pagan for the ignorant, but in origin it's something else. We have revealed it here.
Incoming sign
If you want to learn more, keep watching, liking, and subscribing to our comment. Subscribe to our channel, Afro Salvation Mystical Power Today. Amen.